Y'all, this is now the third week in a row that Charlamagne has been throwing out warnings aimed directly at academics about one of his closest associates, and the situation just keeps getting messier. As many of you remember, last week Charlamagne claimed that the Grand Wizard had been talking to investigators behind the scenes. According to him, Grand Wizard allegedly told authorities that the instructions he followed came straight from Akademiks and Drake. But now things have escalated even further because this week, Charlamagne reportedly obtained text messages that paint a very different picture. In those messages, Grand Wizard was allegedly asking someone connected to him or his podcast not to let his photo get exposed online. During the discussion, Charlamagne hinted that he noticed some serious panic taking place behind the scenes after last week's revelations. The conversation quickly shifted when messages surfaced, allegedly showing concerns about being identified publicly and fears about personal information spreading across the internet. Then things got even more interesting because one message reportedly complained about accusations of cooperation with investigators and claims involving missing money connected to Akademiks. The texts allegedly described lengthy phone calls, frustrations over losing control of public narratives, and suspicions that powerful people were coordinating attacks through lawsuits and investigations. According to the messages, the writer insisted that none of the allegations were legitimate and claimed not to have spoken with anyone involved. And that's where the entire story starts raising even more questions than answers. What really caught everyone's attention was the reaction to those messages, because Charlamagne immediately questioned why someone would seemingly throw their own ally under the bus like that. He repeatedly asked where this information was coming from and why these private conversations were suddenly becoming public. The messages allegedly claimed that Akademiks contacted him immediately after certain allegations surfaced and insisted they were false. Then, according to the texts, another figure publicly repeated similar information, leading to accusations involving politics, Drake, and alleged attempts to expose personal details online. The writer even claimed that Akademiks encouraged him to take the gloves off, a statement that left everyone in the room stunned. And at that point, the discussion went from interesting to absolutely unbelievable. But the biggest question Charlamagne kept coming back to was simple. Why was Grand Wizard allegedly so desperate to keep his picture from circulating online? He pointed out the irony of someone being comfortable discussing controversial topics about other people while reportedly fearing exposure themselves. Charlamagne openly questioned how someone could participate in internet drama yet be concerned about being doxxed when attention turns in their direction. He also seemed especially curious about the repeated references to crypto and why that subject appeared to trigger so much concern. According to the message, there was a fear that mentioning crypto could somehow lead to a home invasion, which only added another layer of mystery. And when nobody could provide a clear explanation, the speculation only grew stronger. Finally, someone pointed out that George was located in Australia, but even that detail did little to answer the growing list of questions surrounding the situation. Charlamagne kept circling back to one question that he clearly felt wasn't being answered. Why would someone be worried about their home getting invaded over all of this? He admitted that the whole thing simply wasn't making sense to him, especially after seeing that alleged text message from Grand Wizard. What's interesting is that this message reportedly surfaced before Akademiks publicly admitted that he was the one who instructed Grand Wizard, also known as Akademiks TV, to help push negative narratives about Charlamagne. And according to Charlamagne, that was exactly the point. He wanted Akademiks to see just how quickly someone in his circle could flip and start revealing private conversations. From there, Charlamagne addressed accusations that he was trying to divide Akademiks' team, but instead of backing down, he doubled down on his warning. He argued that everything he'd witnessed over the past few weeks only confirmed what he had already been trying to tell Akademiks from the beginning. Charlamagne pointed directly at those text messages and questioned why Grand Wizard would allegedly expose private conversations by claiming Akademiks told him to take the gloves off. To him, that wasn't the behavior of someone protecting a friend. In fact, he openly wondered how anyone could look at those messages and not question whether that same person would cooperate if investigators ever came asking questions. The conversation got even more intense when Charlamagne suggested there were bigger issues happening behind the scenes, though he stopped short of providing specific details. Instead, he mentioned having access to additional information, including photos and identities connected to the people involved. But then he shifted the focus to a bigger point, arguing that history shows smaller players often get sacrificed first whenever pressure starts building. According to him, people at the bottom are frequently the first ones left exposed when others are trying to protect themselves. The discussion then turned toward Australia, where Charlamagne pointed out that legal standards are different from what many Americans are used to. He suggested that authorities there take allegations involving cryptocurrency, illegal gambling, money laundering, wire fraud, conspiracy, and advertising violations extremely seriously. That comment immediately sparked reactions from everyone in the room, with some wondering what exactly had happened to create so much concern. And that's when Charlamagne flipped the narrative completely. He questioned who actually sounded nervous in this situation, asking whether he appeared worried or whether the concern was coming from someone else entirely. While others encouraged everyone to let the situation go, Charlamagne insisted that none of it had anything to do with him personally. He repeatedly emphasized that the matter was bigger than him and that he was simply observing events unfold. Then came one final warning directed at Akademiks. Charlamagne claimed that all he had been trying to do was alert people to what he believed was happening behind the scenes. He once again urged Akademiks to pay close attention to the people around him, because in his opinion, the text messages showed someone throwing him under the bus almost immediately. According to Charlamagne, Akademiks had privately told him that Grand Wizard believed he was connected to Roc Nation and was attempting to expose him through that connection. He further claimed that Akademiks insisted he had nothing to do with Grand Wizard's actions, despite how things appeared publicly. When asked what he personally gained from discussing any of this, Charlamagne's answer was simple: absolutely nothing. He rejected the idea that he was being paid or influenced by Roc Nation or anyone else, and said nobody could buy his opinion. Instead, he redirected the conversation back to the question he felt nobody wanted to answer. Why was Grand Wizard so determined to keep his image hidden from the public? Why was he allegedly worried about crypto discussions leading to a home invasion? And perhaps most importantly, why did he seem so willing to distance himself from Akademiks the moment pressure started building? Those are the questions Charlamagne said people should really be asking.